Let me ask you something. What if you could build a multi-million dollar rental portfolio without quitting your job? What if you could invest out of state, even if you've never stepped foot in the market? And what if raising over $1 million in private money did not require begging or pitching or chasing anyone? Well, today's guest did exactly that. My guest and good friend and fellow mastermind member, Brian Waters, is a full time fire captain in Los Angeles, not a full time investor. And yet, in just 4 years, he has built a $4.5 million rental portfolio with 25 properties. Now, let that sink in. While working demanding shifts, while living in one of the most expensive cities in the country, he figured out how to consistently buy cash flowing rentals in other states and then turned around and started teaching other busy professionals how to do the exact same thing. Oh, and he's raised over $1 million in private money to help fund those deals. So if you've ever said to yourself, I don't have time, or I don't live in the right market, or I don't know where the money will come from, this episode is about to remove every one of those excuses. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority. This is Raising Private Money, and you're going to meet Brian Waters right after this.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Brian, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Jay. It's so awesome and an honor to meet you. I met you in person, but I am so excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. Let's go ahead and dive right in. You are a full-time fire captain out there in Los Angeles. So let's start here. How in the world did you build a $4.5 million portfolio while working a demanding job like that?
Yeah, honestly, it came out of necessity. I got hired late as a firefighter. I got hired at 33. I was an airline pilot for a number of years, got laid off. That's a lot of people don't know that about me. And so it was kind of out of necessity. I really wasn't sure that I'd physically be able to do the whole career or mentally of the fire service, because it's very demanding. And so I looked around to all the successful people, one being my man in the room, Jay Conner, and what you always want to emulate what the successful people are doing. They were doing real estate. And so I jumped in, and I'm sure we'll get to it later, but real estate's expensive in California. So I, out of necessity, had to go outside of my my area and go invest out of state. So there we are.
Right. Well, when you started investing out of state, what was your schedule as a fire captain? What was your schedule looking like? Like, did you have quite a few days on and then you got some days off and back and forth?
Yeah, I think we have the secret schedule that really, this is why I love teaching other first responders. We work really, really hard when we're there. We work 10 days a month. And that sounds like people were going to say, oh, that's not that much. But look, you guys, it's 24-hour shifts, demanding, not sleeping. But we have 20 days off. And so there's plenty of time during those other days off that while I'm getting my rest and spending time with family, I have the ability to take those skill sets that I have in my job and go put them to work and do other things. So, you know, I'm just so type A. I'd probably get really bored if I didn't have anything else to do. And that's it keeps me busy for sure.
I got you. Well, so in other words, you didn't wait for the perfect situation. And that's where most people, get stuck. And you just, dove in and took action. Well, what was the moment? What trigger comes to your mind? You realize that you didn't have to invest in your own backyard to build wealth, that you could actually do it, in another market.
Yeah, I think for me, there was actually a friend of ours who had invested out of state. She had purchased a couple properties. I never even thought about it. I was like, it seemed so scary, super daunting. But I think with technology and the way things are and the connections that you meet out there, there's so many possibilities. And truthfully, I like it that it's so far away, because I would be tempted to go there. And this allows me to have this, although it's not passive, it's semi-passive business where I can build those teams and do it. So it was a big leap of faith, honestly, Jay, and I'm glad I took it. But it was just meeting a few people that were doing what I wanted to do, and I saw that they were successful. And I'm a competitive person. I'm like, if they could do it, in a healthy way, if they could do it, I believe in myself enough to give it a try. And I truthfully didn't know what the heck I was doing that first property. I almost just threw a dart at a map and made it work. But that just goes to show that you could just take that first actionable step, and you're gonna be fine, you guys. So
I'm sure we've got some people listening to this episode, and some of them are thinking and saying to themselves, investing in another market where I don't even live, that like really sounds risky. What were your biggest fears investing out of state when you started?
my biggest fear is I was always thinking that you needed to fly there and walk through it, and you need to fall in love with the property. And what I finally realized is this business is more about is about the relationships you make outside there, having those good teams there, but also analyzing a property more by the numbers. At first, I would try to fall in love with, like, hey, Brian's going to live there, but in my portfolio now, I've only been to 4 properties. I haven't been to 80% of the states that I'm in. So I kind of had to relinquish that emotional side of it and look at it more of an analytical side, and that really helped me. And realize that there's so many checks and balances in real estate, from contracts to how you pay people to getting inspections and appraisals. There's so many things that protect the people, and that's a good thing. That there's going to be times I get knocked down, but if I could understand the best way to protect myself through those contracts and through how I analyze things, then I'm going to give myself a better option. And then on the flip side, I looked at, not to turn this into any other type of investing, but I didn't have control. And the other investments I was doing, it was out of my control. It was whatever that company decided to do and how their Q1 went. I kind of wanted a little bit more control because I am a fireman. So I think that helped a ton.
Was there anything when you were starting out that almost stopped you from pulling the trigger and moving forward?
Well, I think the elephant in the room, and this is where you're going to come into my picture, was funding. Truthfully, funding was a big part of it, right? And so, it's so hard for us to keep raising the funds, not raising, but saving the funds to go buy your properties. And so I saw that as a problem early on. I was like, okay, Brian, you have the funding for 1 or 2, and then what's next? I was like, it almost brought me to tears going, I fell in love with real estate, and I was like, where do I get the next amount of money moving forward? Am I done investing, or do I have to wait 5 years? And it's like almost like Jay Connor just appeared into my orbit at the right time in the right place. And I'm sitting here obviously with my copied book here, which I love, and I'm so blessed to have read that. And that was the biggest fear. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for, number one, your knowledge, but also writing that for the world to read. And so that changed the game for me and my business 100%.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Was there any particular thing that gave you the confidence to move forward? Now, you did mention the word faith a few minutes ago, but what is it that gave you enough confidence to actually move forward?
What I've realized is with real estate, even if it's not perfect, it's still great. I mean, we're so blessed in America. It's one of those things, being able to own properties and all that stuff. So for me, having a good W-2 job has been the backbone for me to be able to take a little bit of those risks. But just, believing in myself, believing that there's other people out there. And real estate is a very special place, I think, that people want to help you. So early on, I got a mentor, just like how I'm now mentoring other people. I had my mentor. And so I felt comfortable because that person had done, 20, 30 properties already. And I go, okay, they're doing it. They're going to help me. I'm not going alone. Just like in the fire service, we don't run into a burning building alone, right? You gotta train for it. You gotta be around the right people. But I just felt like, what do I have to lose at this point? What do I have to lose?
Well, you broke through the fear, you pulled the trigger, you moved forward, you got a mentor up front, which was very, very smart on your part. And so now let's break down and dive into your system as to how it actually works. Walk us through your system, like finding deals, vetting the deals out, managing properties and markets that you don't live in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the system part of it is so important, especially for us busy working professionals, the people that are doing the 9 to 5s, the super moms that are taking their kids to soccer and stuff. We don't want another job. I have a busy job, a busy life. I coach football, and so having a good way to get number one. Well, there's a few things. Number one is you have to have the money. So we've already talked about Jay and what he can help provide with that. Number two is you have to have the deals coming in. I'm kind of boring. There's a million ways to do it. People use fancy software. They get wholesalers. They do cold calling and marketing. I'm too busy and too lazy to do any of that. And so for those who say there's no deals out there, I'm going to put the hammer down and say there are probably more deals than I can do on my own. And so I traditionally just use the MLS. I go on Redfin and Zillow, but most importantly, I get my buy box. And however cliche it is to talk about your buy box, it is super important that you have it, because I know specifically down to the zip codes, the square footage, the price, the bed bath count of exactly where I want and when I want it. And being that specific is going to be very important for deals coming my way. Now I learn, I study, I analyze, I become a master of that small little area. I'm not in 50,000 markets. I'm just in this little tiny nook. And when I get those deals coming across my way, I know that I'm going to jump on them. I know the names of the streets. I know the zip codes. I have my realtor that's there. And then just like everyone else, I use my analyzation software. I'm very conservative when I'm running numbers. I make sure I know the comps and all of that fancy stuff. I use Rentometer for the rent amount. I talk to other investors. And on the back end, the other two teammates that are going to be the very most important, and I'm going to say them in order of who I think's the most important. The tenant is going to be the biggest and best teammate you ever had. So how to find a good property manager to find the best tenant, but your property manager is also going to make or break your business, because I don't manage my properties. I don't want to. I've never even been to the States. You have to have that good manager. And after that, it's set it and forget it. I prefer long-term, because they hopefully are going to stay for a couple of years, and maybe once a month or every couple of months, I'll hear from them about a toilet. Other than that, Brian goes to work, fight fires, coach football, be a good husband and dad, and that is it. So it's just those systems and the right people in place, really.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more when it comes down to team members. I mean, it's the team members that make you or break you. Such in my business, my house flipping business, all the team members are so important. The real estate attorney for the closings. In fact, it's real convenient. My real estate attorney's office is right next door, like 10 steps down the sidewalk outside our building. And I was in her office 2 times yesterday and 1 time today, selling 2 houses this week, buying another one the first of next week. And so real estate attorney is such an important team member in the house flipping business. And then our realtor, critical, of course, in your kind of investing. Your property management company, of course, would be crucial in the flipping business. The relationship with the general contractors is critical. So, and my acquisitionist that talks to all the sellers of properties, her name's Kim. She's been with us on the team for over 20 years.
Wow.
I've been doing the business with the same realtor for over 20 years. So it's hard to put, well, you can't put a value on how important those relationships are. What are some of your non-negotiables when you're deciding on choosing a market to invest in for your business model?
So for me, I like the states personally that have landlord friendly laws. Number one, that's a big reason why I get outside of California. There's a lot people have to say about where I live, but right now I'm sitting in shorts and t-shirts. Beautiful. I love this state more than anything. I'll probably live here forever. But as far as investing, you got to find places that are favorable to the landlords and the tenants. And what I mean by that is you got to treat your tenants well. Like obviously Jay has all these business people with him for a long time because he treats them well. I treat my tenants the same way. I provide a very safe, reliable thing. I communicate really well with them. But for someone who's taking their income in California and going to other places, that's a kind of a check and balance for me. I want to be able to make sure that my business is going to keep moving forward. So one is good landlord laws. Number two, I don't invest in areas that have really bad weather because it's maybe insurance issues. It's going to be harder on the property. So I'm looking for kind of I like boring real estate. I truthfully do. And our price point is markets that are under $200,000. That's just my personal preference. Reason being is if my tenant moves out in California, I'm on the hook for $5,000 mortgage until I find a tenant. That's going to wipe out a lot of Brian and the money I have. Where the mortgages in these states of Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, they're $800, $900. I can go have a lemonade stand and be fine, right? So that's part of the risk mitigation that I do. And then places that have a lot of jobs. And then the last thing I'll say is I want to go where actually other investors are. However counterintuitive that might be. If other investors there, if Jay's there, obviously they know that they know something I don't. There's enough and it's plentiful for everyone, but where other people are brings in resources such as contractors and property managers and agents. I'm not going rural America trying to recreate the wheel. I'm jumping on the tailcoat of someone like Jay who knows those areas. And I encourage my investors, Jay's investors, clients to do the same thing. We're out there providing all the hard work to get these areas. Just ask us. I'll be happy to tell you where I invest. It's not a secret.
That makes a lot of sense, Brian. You have built your business here in just 4 years, 25 plus properties. What do you think? And you may know for sure, what did you do differently to build this in just 4 years? Say that the average investor doesn't do and stays stuck.
The most important thing is I operate off the ready, fire, aim mentality, which is you don't need to have the perfect shot. You just need to take it. And so for me, it was that actionable step of just giving it a whirl. I'm still learning, you guys. With the 25 properties that we have, things aren't perfect. I don't want to come off into this universe and say, Brian's got it all figured out. I'm still learning and growing. If you're not, then you're not human. Right. And so what I realized is property 1 was okay. Number 2 was great. Number 3 sucked. Number 4, I got better. Number 5 sucked again. Number 6, it's this like ever evolving thing. And you're never going to work it all out, but you got to get moving. You got to try, and you got to get around the people that are going to help you. And I don't know. Maybe I don't care if everything's perfect. I just know that it's better than I was before. And that provides, and it's cool to see where the portfolio at is in 4 years. I'm like, man, this has really changed a lot for us, but just don't wait for perfection. It's never going to be there. Even on your 50th, it's not there. Just go.
Yeah. It's like our good friend Tom Kroll says, in any kind of business, if you want to succeed, take massive imperfect action.
That is it right there.
Massive imperfect action. Do you think some real estate investors, when they're starting out, they just simply overcomplicate the process?
I do. And the thing that I see even in my community is they'll get one little knockdown, like a toilet problem, and they're like, this real estate is so hard. I hate this. But you have to think of it like, think of your own home. If I'm not at Home Depot every other day because trying to fix something in my own house, or with your car getting oil changes, that's just part of the business. There's no perfect business out there. So yeah, I don't know. You just gotta take your lumps, have thick skin stuff. If it's going to bother you, then maybe real estate's not for you. So I get calls and I'm not happy with them all the time because I'm like, I got to do this or that, or I just did this and now I got to fix this. You have to analyze properties well enough, build your portfolio where you could start taking money from one property over to another, and everything's going to be okay, you guys. You just have to take a deep breath and you're going to get through the stuff. I guarantee it.
Yeah. All right. So we got an overview of your strategy, the system, the process, how it works. So let's talk about the bottleneck that holds people up that you already mentioned, and that's raising private money. Thank you for the shout out about my best-selling book, Where to Get the Money Now. How did you go? There it is. How did you go from not having all the capital you needed to raising over $1 million so far in private money to help you fund these deals?
I'm excited to share an update, by the way. It is now 1.5 million. Thank you very much.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So it's a tough conversation because I'll get some brand new investors coming in and they're like, I want to raise private money. And I had to put myself in the shoes of the people that you're asking or you're trying to partner with. if I came to you, Jay, and I had zero experience, I'm like, hey, Jay, can I borrow $1 million? And they're like, well, tell me your experience level. I'm like, I don't know. I just saw this guy on YouTube. I want to learn how to do it. So for me, it truthfully happened organically. And so as I started to get under property 1, 2, and 3, my mentor at the time said something that I really, really, really feel that's important. And I hope that people are going to listen to this conversation. Get your document your journey early. So I'm on social media. It is embarrassing, you guys. Every time I hit send, I want to crawl under their bed and just hide. It's uncomfortable. But what happened is I was starting to, and this is what Jay talks in his book about your warm circle. So what happened was I started documenting my journey, posting pictures. It wasn't flaunting. I was just like, this is cool. I want to look back at this in 10 years and be able to look back at what I was doing. And as I was doing that, the weirdest thing happened. People started asking me questions like, Brian, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, this is a very good way to have that conversation. Instead of me going to someone and asking them, they're now asking me. It became the most organic, easy conversation I ever had. I talked to them about what I'm doing and be like, hey, I'd love to show you how to invest out of state. They're like, I don't want to do that. But I do have $200,000 sitting under my mattress at home. And I'm like, this is the perfect segue into the opportunity of having that conversation. But if I hadn't been on social media and they didn't see it, or I hadn't documented my experience for them to start seeing what I was doing, I would have been dead in the water. And truthfully, Jay, that is how I've raised $1.5 million. I don't even think I've ever asked anyone for money. They've come to me.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I've never asked someone. I just took 2 people out to lunch this week, and that's how I raised that extra 500 grand. I presented them the opportunity because they know what I'm doing. They see me active in the community, and they now already have that trust built in. And the majority of people that I invest with me are people that I've known for years.
Absolutely.
And, Jay talks about opening up your phone and scrolling through it. You have 500 people waiting with money for you. So you just gotta shout it from the mountaintop what you're doing and not brag. Just get out there and put your face on social media, get uncomfortable, and it's going to start coming in. And if I didn't learn that tip from you, Jay, I would have been stuck at 4. Now I'm closing in on 25. So it's opened up the gate. And the cool thing is I'm not only the one making money, my investors are crushing it right now. Right. They're
sure
loving it. And
well, I'm so glad you shared that story and that part of your journey, because truly raising capital, raising private money, it's all about no asking, no begging, no selling, no chasing. And you have probably discovered the same thing I did, Brian. And that is, the worst time to be raising private money is when you need it for a deal. When I've got a private lender, a new private lender that's, starting out with, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. And they've told me that's what they want to invest. And then I say, okay, well, I'll put your money to work for you just as soon as possible. That's a whole different conversation than me saying, okay, well, I got a deal that, you can fund right now. But when I call them up 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, then there's no desperation, because, desperation does have a smell to it. Right.
Absolutely.
And so, so I come across and you come across to your private lenders as serving them and delivering for them. And I learned long ago, the private lenders actually need us more than we need them, because there's more of them than there are deals, to tell you the truth. And so it's really all about creating win-win relationships and, get rid of that mentality of having to chase the money. Brian, what, you mentor other people that are getting into real estate investing. What mistakes do you see busy professionals making? Of course, you target to help firefighters. What mistakes do you see busy professionals making when they're trying to get into rental properties? What gets in their way?
I think they get in their own way, truthfully. What I see oftentimes is, number one, a lot of people join communities, or they're first off, I think there's so much noise out there. There's so much you could do in real estate, from RV parks to just you name it, from wholesale. And every one of them is great. So what I tell them is you got to pick your strategy first, and you got to start moving forward with that. But I think they get in their own way because they Oftentimes it's like joining a gym on January 1. If you don't show up and do the work, you're not going to see any results. And so some people just join thinking that, hey, if I'm just in this community, I'm going to be successful. So the most successful clients I have are the ones that show up in the calls. They're taking the actionable steps that I'm giving for them. But if you just get out of your own way and you actually do the work, I've set, and so is Jay in his community, we've set these strategic things you need to do in a row. And if you just do those, you're gonna be successful. So they overanalyze, they'll wait for the perfect situation. They just got to get started. So I'm pretty adamant about that. Do you mind if I want to take it back to what you said about private money? I have this it'll make it quick, but I have a very, it almost brings me to tears in my eyes of the story of a lady that I partner with. It'll make it real quick.
Sure.
I didn't want to go back in time here, but Jay said something really important. These lenders out there, they're gaining as much as we are. But I had a lady in my warm circle, I won't use her name. She came to me and said, Brian, she's about 72 years old. She lost her husband. She's working a job. She has 2 roommates. And she's like, I'm so sick of working. She had a bunch of money in a CD account making garbage money. And I just went to her. I was like, okay, she understands about real estate, didn't want to do it. And I said, what number do you need to make this work? I want to get you to quit your job, and I want you to get those roommates out of there so you can live your life. And she's been one of my best lending partners to this day, but it's a mutual, amazing relationship. She's able to make literally fixed income from me. I'm able to scale. I'm doing multiple properties with her lending. That's what this game's all about, because I'm not being this greedy guy like, oh, it's all about me. I made it work for her. She retired, got rid of her roommates, and she's now loving it. She's taken some of that extra capital to go do some trips that she's always wanted to do. So make it worthwhile for the person on the other end, just like treating your company employees well. I've come back to that well many a times, and she's actually opened up more money because she sees it's happening. That's a relationship that you can never, I'm so grateful for that. And I know she is too. So anyway, I'm sorry I had to share that. I just thought it was.
No, I'm glad you did. I mean, to complement and to go along what you just shared, my wife, Carol Joy, and I, over the years, we have received thank you handwritten notes in the mail from our private lenders, thanking us for changing their retirement years. Amazing. One in particular couple that I'm thinking of, they wrote us this note, and they said, if it had not been for your private lending opportunity for them to invest in, they said, we would not have been able to travel to Florida and visit our grandchildren anytime we want to. Whereas prior to becoming private lenders, they couldn't do that. So talk about an amazing supplemental income. I'm thinking of another private lender that lives in Mississippi. I've got private lenders all over the nation. I'm thinking of another private lender that I had Brenda, my office manager, just pull the numbers. She has made from my company in private money interest $578,000.
Oh my gosh! Wow!
In interest, since she and her husband became a private lender, and I mean, that's sort of transforming, right?
Yeah, it is.
$578,000 paid to a private lender. Brian, to start wrapping this up, I know we've got listeners that want to reach out to you to learn more about how it is that your system works, and how you could possibly help them, in their real estate investing journey. So what's the best way for people to contact you, Brian?
Absolutely. I pride myself, you guys, on communicating. When you reach out to me, it's not going to be robot Brian. It will not be AI Brian. You're going to be talking to me. I love this stuff just as much as Jay does. But to answer your question, is at Mr.Brian, BRIAN.Waters, Mr.Brian.Waters. That's on Facebook, that's on Instagram, that's on YouTube, that's on TikTok, all the things. I just made it easy because that's what it would be easy for you to just DM me. I'll give you my personal cell phone number and we can have a conversation. Yeah, that's
simple enough. Yes. Yeah. So you're listening to this show, DM Brian, his handle at Mr. Brian with an I, BRIAN.Waters. And yeah, he'll give you his personal cell phone number and y'all can have a great conversation. Brian, thank you so much for joining me on Raising Private Money.
Absolutely, Jay. Honestly, it's a privilege of my life. It's not often you get to get into someone's orbit 4 years ago, read their book. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I met you recently in person, and you're about as authentic of a human as I've met. And for those that are curious about it, get in Jay's world, please. It could change your life like it did me. So I cannot wait to see you again in Nashville. And I mean it. It's just an honor, man. I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you so much, Brian. And since you've talked about my book so much, we might as well remind the audience how they can get my book for free. The name of the book is Where to Get the Money Now, all about raising private money. Very, very easy to understand. And just cover shipping and handling. You can pick it up at www.jayconner.com/book. That's jayconner.com/book. I'll autograph it and we will rush deliver it right on out to you. Well, let me leave you with this. If Brian can build a $4.5 million portfolio while working full time, then let me ask you, what's really holding you back? Well, I can tell you, it's not your job, it's not your market, and it's definitely not the money when you know how to raise the private money. It's just that you hadn't seen the path clearly until today. So here's what I want you to do right now. If this episode gave you even one breakthrough, one shift in how you think about raising private money or investing out of state, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with one person, just one person. Text it to a friend, send it to a colleague, post it on your social media that Brian was talking about, and tag me when you do it. Because here's the truth. The more people that you help win, the more opportunities are going to come back to you. And if you want more conversations just like this, more strategies, more real world stories of how investors are raising millions without asking for money, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, and I'll see you right here on the next episode.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jayconner.com/moneyguide. That's jayconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jayconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.